This happened a few months ago when I returned to my hometown after my mother's passing. I was 35 and came back to help my elderly father. I thought reconnected would help me heal, but when I walked the cobblestone streets, things felt off. The familiar adobe houses looked different. It was like the town had secrets I didn't know. That first night, I lay in bed, listening to the old house creak. It was comforting. Then I heard it, a soft creaking at my window. I thought it was just the wind, but curiosity pulled me closer to the glass. When I peeked outside, I saw her, an old woman standing across the street. I couldn't see her face well, but I felt her eyes on me. I pulled back, heart racing. Maybe it was just my imagination. Over the next few days, I kept seeing her in that same spot. Sometimes I thought I heard her mumble something. I didn't recognize the words. The townsfolk whispered about La Señora de la Reja. They said she guarded secrets, important things hidden from everyone. I felt uneasy just thinking about her. It was like she was watching me. I tried to shake off my fear, but then something happened. One morning, I found the kitchen door open. I was sure I had locked it. My stomach twisted. Could she have done this? I saw a shadow pass by the window, but when I looked, nothing was there. My heart raced. I felt a tightness in my throat. I wanted to call someone, but who would listen to me? Strange things kept happening. Objects around the house went missing. Then they would show up in weird places. It felt like someone was watching me, especially when I was alone. I would catch a glimpse of something, but when I looked, there was nothing. I began to wonder if I was losing my mind. I stood by my bedroom window one night, and she wasn't there. I felt a sudden chill. I stepped closer to see if I could spot her. Then I saw her shadow moving along the wall. My breath caught in my throat. Was this all in my head? I wasn't sure. Then, that night, it happened. I heard her voice clearer than before. It felt like she was whispering my name. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. The air around me felt heavy. I opened my mouth to shout, but no words came out. Suddenly, she turned her head towards me. I knew this wasn't just a story. It felt too real. I hesitated. What did she want? With all my fear, I stood there waiting for her to speak. I noticed her old, hollow eyes were locked on me. They held secrets, deep and dark. I wanted to ask her something, but I was frozen in place. Then she smiled, and it sent chills down my spine. What did that smile mean? I felt lost in a web of fear and curiosity. I wondered if I dared to find out what she had to say. I woke up the next morning in a sweat. The sun filtered through the curtains, and for a moment I almost thought everything that had happened was just a bad dream. But as I sat up, the memory of that chilling smile sent shivers down my spine. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was still out there, watching me. Determined to find some answers, I decided to visit the local library. I hoped I might uncover something about La Señora de la Reja. Maybe it was just an old wives' tale, but I needed to know. As I walked through the familiar streets, every shadow seemed to dance at the corners of my vision. My heart raced with each step I took. When I got to the library, the old wooden door creaked open, the smell of aged paper filling the air. I made my way to the history section, searching for books that might hold the town's secrets. I found a dusty volume on local legends. Page after page, I read about ghost stories and haunted places, but La Señora was barely mentioned. Only a short paragraph caught my attention. It spoke of a woman who had lost her family in tragic circumstances and now wandered the town searching for something lost. Feeling frustrated, I closed the book. Just as I was about to leave, the librarian approached me. She had been a fixture in the town for as long as I could remember. Her eyes held a warning. "You've been seeing her, haven't you?" she asked, her voice low. I hesitated. "What do you know about her?" Her gaze drifted to a corner of the library, then back to me. She's not dangerous, but she carries the burden of her past. Some say she knows things best left unknown. Be careful. Once she picks you, there's no going back. My stomach knotted. How could a woman like that choose me? I thanked the librarian and left, feeling the weight of her words. Were the missing objects and the open door related to her? Why did I feel so connected to that eerie figure? As night fell, I returned home. I stood at the threshold, staring at the old door. A decision was brewing inside me. I didn't want to just ignore her anymore. I felt a pull, a sense of duty to confront whatever it was that La Señora wanted. I placed an old candle on the kitchen table, then lit it. The flickering flame cast shadows on the walls, a soft glow in the darkening room. I took a deep breath and called her name into the quiet. The air around me shifted, cold and alive. When I glanced towards the window, I swore I saw her silhouette. Panic coursed through me. Suddenly, I heard a knock. I turned, heart pounding. A loud thud echoed from the back door. "Who's there?" I shouted, my hands trembling. That's when I heard her voice again, clearer than ever. "Find me." I froze, the candlelight flickering in response to my racing heart. I felt the urge to run, but something held me in place. What did she mean by "find me"? Was this the moment I had been dreading, or the moment I had been waiting for? The uncertainty tightened around me. As I gathered my courage, I knew I had to make a choice. I could ignore her call, or step into the unknown and face whatever secrets lay ahead. But the decision wasn't just mine anymore. I stood there, candle flickering, the shadows wrapping around me. The heavy silence pressed in, and I felt a chill creeping from the back door. It was now or never. I took a cautious step toward the sound. The thud had come from the kitchen, a place I once felt safe. My hands shook as I reached for the doorknob, my mind racing with what could be waiting on the other side. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door. The darkness of the night spilled in. I stepped into the kitchen, the candlelight barely illuminating the room. Nothing was there, just the emptiness and stillness. I felt foolish for being scared, but then I remembered her voice. "Find me." Without thinking, I turned back toward the hallway. It felt like it was calling to me, whispering my name. I glanced at the table where I had placed the candle. It flickered ominously, casting strange shapes on the walls. That's when I noticed something on the ground. A small object lay near the door, half concealed by shadows. It was a locket, old and tarnished. I picked it up, feeling its weight in my palm. As I opened it, a rush of air passed through me, and I gasped. The image inside was familiar. It was a hauntingly beautiful woman with the same piercing eyes I had seen in La Señora. My heart raced. Was this her locket? The realization made my stomach twist. How could I be holding something that belonged to her? I glanced toward the back door, suddenly aware that I had crossed a line. The fleeting shadows seemed to beckon me, but doubt flooded my thoughts. I could still turn back, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was closer to understanding something. I made my way to the living room, the locket clutched tightly in my hand. As I settled on the sofa, I couldn't help but think about the librarian's warning. If this woman was searching for something lost, was I now part of that search too? Then my phone buzzed, breaking the heavy silence. It was a text from my friend Mia. "Hey, are you okay? You've been acting weird since that night. Do you want to meet up?" Just as I was about to respond, the lights flickered and went out. Darkness enveloped me, and panic surged through my veins. I fumbled for my phone, the screen illuminating my face in the pitch black. I tried to compose myself, but everything felt wrong. I heard a soft whisper, like the wind passing through the trees. "Help me." My heart dropped. It was La Señora's voice again, resonating louder in the stillness. That was when I realized I wasn't just remembering her. I was becoming part of her haunting, whether I liked it or not. I stood, pulse racing. I had to find La Señora. I was already in too deep, and perhaps the only way out was to face her. Looking outside toward the faint glow of the streetlights, I took a deep breath and stepped into the unknown. As I crossed the threshold, I sensed something shift. An atmosphere heavy with anticipation cloaked me as the night held its breath. I was no longer just looking for answers. I was walking straight into whatever darkness awaited me. And then a shadow crossed my path. I froze. My breath caught in my throat as the shadow loomed closer. Fear prickled at my skin, and instinct told me to run, but curiosity held me in place. My pulse thundered in my ears, drowning out the sounds of the night. I squinted into the darkness, trying to make sense of the shape that glided toward me. Suddenly, a soft chuckle erupted from the shadows. It was gentle but haunting, sending chills down my spine. "You seek her, don't you?" The voice was low and gravelly, like a whisper carried on the wind. "Who are you?" I stammered, heart racing. My mind raced with possibilities as the figure illuminated slightly in the sparse glow of streetlight. An older man, with a crooked smile and eyes like bottomless wells, stared back at me. "Just a messenger," he replied, stepping into the light, revealing a tattered coat and a wide-brimmed hat that seemed too large for his head. "But you're not ready for her, not yet." "Ready for what? I need to find her." Panic seeped through my words. Every beat of my heart felt like a countdown, urging me to act. Memories of La Señora filled my mind, bringing flashes of her sorrow and desperation. Was this man keeping me from what I needed? "Ah, but you don't know what you're asking for." He lifted his hand, and I could see a glimpse of something shiny between his fingers, a small key, glimmering like it held more than just iron. "This key unlocks doors you shouldn't open." I took a cautious step back. "What do you mean? Is that hers?" He shook his head slowly, a wry smile twisting his lips. "There are secrets buried deeper than even she can fathom, things that could change everything." His tone turned darker, almost ominous. "You must choose. Seek her, or let her go." I pulled my phone from my pocket and attempted to shine its light on him. "I don't understand. What do you know?" He leaned closer, his breath cold against my cheek. "You hold her locket, yet do you truly comprehend the weight it bears? She is trapped in a cycle that will ensnare you both." Before I could respond, a shudder ran through the ground, a muffled thud resonating beneath my feet, like the sound of something powerful awakening. The man's eyes widened, and he stepped back as if fearing the sensation. "You need to decide now." A flickering light in the distance caught my eye, a silhouette passing near the cemetery. My pulse quickened. Was this my chance to find La Señora? I turned, head spinning with confusion and dread, torn between the man's cryptic warning and the urgency pulsing in my chest. But the shadow that had drawn me here was calling louder now. "Wait!" I shouted to the old man, but he had vanished into the night. The ground shook again, more violently this time. The streetlights flickered and dimmed, plunging me into darkness. I felt a rush of cold air, and suddenly the whispers returned, swirling around me. Help me. I had only one option left. I sprinted towards the cemetery, the key's significance pulsing in my mind, urging me forward. La Señora needed me, but what awaited me in the shadows? With every step, I sensed that I was no longer just chasing a ghost. I was inviting something far worse into my life. I burst through the iron gates of the cemetery, breathless and trembling. The air was thick with fog, clinging to the gravestones like wispy fingers. Shadows twisted and danced between the crypts, hiding secrets in their dark folds. My heart raced, and I felt a mix of fear and determination. "Where are you?" I whispered into the stillness. The wind responded with a low moan, sending chills through me. Just ahead, a flicker of light caught my eye. It was coming from a mausoleum, its door slightly ajar, revealing a warm glow from within. I took a cautious step toward it, my instincts screaming for caution. The mysterious man's words echoed in my mind. Secrets buried deeper. I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever happened next could change everything. I glanced back, half expecting the old man to reappear, but the shadows remained silent. Gritting my teeth, I pushed open the door. A scent of decay filled the air, mixing uncomfortably with the sweetness of warmth emanating from within. The interior was dim, illuminated by flickering candles placed haphazardly around the room. In the center stood an ornate altar, adorned with strange artifacts, old photographs, dried flowers, and more keys similar to the one I had seen. My hands trembled as I took in the sight, each object whispering tales of loss and despair. "Is anyone here?" My voice wavered, swallowed by the overwhelming silence. I stepped further into the space and nearly tripped over something on the floor. I knelt down, breath catching in my throat. It was a locket, identical to the one La Señora had given me. My fingers closed around it, the cold metal sending a jolt of recognition through me. I went to stand, but stopped when I heard a rustle behind me. I turned slowly, heart hammering in my chest. A figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in black. It was tall and imposing, face obscured by a hood. My instincts screamed at me to flee, but my feet felt heavy, grounded by fear. "Leave this place," the figure commanded, voice low and choppy. "You don't understand what you're meddling with." I clutched the locket tighter, drawing strength from it. "I'm trying to help her." "Help," the figure chuckled darkly. "You cannot save her. She is bound to this realm, and so are you now." "Why? What is happening?" I demanded, frustration boiling over. "I have to find La Señora. I owe it to her." Suddenly the candles flickered more violently, casting eerie shadows across the walls. "You think you can simply decide? The burdens of the past will consume you." The figure extended an arm, and I felt a rush of energy surge through the air, heavy and oppressive. That's when I saw it, a glimpse of movement behind the figure. La Señora's silhouette appeared in the doorway, pale and fragile. Her eyes, once filled with warmth, were now clouded with sorrow. "Help me," she whispered, voice barely audible. Without thinking, I lunged towards her, but the figure blocked my path, a chill gripping my heart. "You cannot help her without consequence." My gut twisted with dread. Each moment felt like a countdown. If I wanted to save La Señora, I had to risk everything, and I wasn't even sure what that meant. "Choose," the figure said, darkness seeping from its form. "Her freedom or your own." The air crackled with tension. I knew I had to make a decision before it was too late. The weight of the figure's words hung heavy in the air. I felt like a puppet, strings tangled in confusion and fear. "What does it mean?" I shouted, desperation clawing at my throat. La Señora's figure flickered like a dying flame, and I refused to let her slip away. "Choose, or her fate is sealed," the cloaked figure repeated, voice echoing like a distant storm. My pulse quickened as I searched La Señora's eyes, hoping to find an answer there. But all I saw was fear. "Please," I begged, "tell me what to do." The figure stepped closer, bringing a wave of cold that cut through the warmth of the candles. The glow flickered, throwing bizarre shadows across the room. "If you save her, you will bear her burdens. If you choose yourself, she remains trapped forever." Time felt frozen. My mind raced. I thought of La Señora's stories, her laughter, the way she cared for everyone in the neighborhood. I couldn't let her stay in this limbo, but the cost terrified me. Could I really shoulder someone else's pain? Drawing a deep breath, I took a step toward La Señora. "I'm not afraid," I said, trying to summon every ounce of courage I had. "I'll do whatever it takes." I was not ready for the blow that followed. The figure's laughter was cold and sharp. "Foolish child, you think it's so simple." It raised a bony hand, and suddenly the candles flared, plunging the room into darkness. "Wait!" I shouted, panic surging through me. I reached out, trying to find La Señora in the void. "Don't go!" A moment passed in crushing silence, and then I felt something cold wrap around my wrist. It was the locket. The sharp edges dug into my skin as it pulsed with energy. I yanked it away from my grasp and held it up, letting it catch the faintest hint of light. "It's a key," I realized, feeling a spark of hope ignite within me. "A key to free her." "Keys can open doors," the figure hissed, its shadow shifting like smoke. "But be wary, some doors lead to places you cannot return from." With a determined breath, I clenched the locket tight, aware of the choice lingering in the depths of my heart. If I was going to help La Señora, I had to unlock whatever lay ahead. I took a step toward the cloaked figure. "I choose her," I declared, my voice stronger than I felt. In that moment, the figure recoiled, as if my words were a weapon, the dark swirling around it like thick fog. "Then you will know despair," it roared, and with that, the walls of the mausoleum began to shudder. The floor trembled beneath my feet, and I braced myself as the world tilted. A deafening crack echoed, drowning out my thoughts. Just before I fell, I caught a glimpse of La Señora's face. Hope flickered in her eyes, and for a moment I thought I could see the doorway to freedom behind her. Then everything went dark. I opened my eyes, but nothing changed. Darkness clung to me like a heavy blanket. I could barely move. My heart pounded in my chest, and I fought to calm it. This had to mean something. Suddenly, a voice pierced through the void. It was La Señora, her voice faint but clear. "Don't be afraid. You are not alone." "Where are you?" I called out, my voice trembling. "I'm here." But I couldn't tell where was. A soft glow began to emerge from the shadows, illuminating part of the space. I squinted against the light and saw her figure. She was standing just a few feet away, but the distance felt impossibly far. "You made your choice," she said, her tone steady. "The key has awakened the past. We must move quickly." "What do you mean?" Panic crept back in. "What's happening?" Before La Señora could answer, the ground beneath us trembled again. The walls around her flickered, revealing fragments of a different place, snapshots of her life filled with laughter and grief. I blinked,
and suddenly I was standing in the middle of a vibrant street filled with people. But their faces were distorted, twisted in pain and fear. I reached out, but the images shimmered like a mirage. "What is this?" I gasped. "It's part of my burden," La Señora replied. "You must face them to save me." The realization hit me like a wave. Her past was woven into this space, and now I had to sift through it. My mind spun with dread, but I couldn't back down. I felt the weight of the locket against my palm, the energy within it buzzing like static. It was the key to moving between these memories, but how? "Concentrate on one memory," La Señora urged. "Find the truth." I narrowed my eyes at the shifting scenes, searching for anything familiar. A small child clutched a red balloon, tears streaming down her face. I felt a tug in my heart. "I know this. It's her," I whispered. "The one you talked about." La Señora nodded. "She carries my sadness. Follow her." But before I could act, the darkness closed in, smothering the images. I struggled, reaching for the light, desperate not to lose what I had just discovered. "No!" I shouted. "Let me through!" The shadows twisted violently, and I was thrown backward. Everything blurred once again, and I found myself lying flat on the cold ground. My breath was ragged as I pushed myself up. That's when I saw it. A glimmer off to my right. A vague shape heaving in the darkness. I stumbled toward it, the locket pulsing fiercely. I needed to know what lay ahead. But as I stepped closer, doubt settled in my gut. What if it was a mistake? What if I was opening a door some secrets were better left closed? As the shape came into focus, my heart dropped. It was another figure, cloaked and shadowy, watching me with intense, burning eyes. "This is only the beginning," it hissed, and I felt the weight of its presence press down on me. I was nowhere near done, and the way forward was growing darker. My instincts screamed at me to run, but my feet felt glued to the ground. The figure loomed closer, its outline shifting with unsettling fluidity. I held the locket tightly, hoping its energy would guide me, but all it did was thrum with urgency, a reminder of the task ahead. "Who are you?" I croaked, forcing the words out. The figure didn't answer, its gaze piercing through the darkness. "You are not prepared," it said, the voice echoing strangely. "You will discover things that should stay buried." A chill ran down my spine. I didn't want to uncover more pain. I wanted to help La Señora, but I also wanted to escape this nightmare. The figure stretched out an arm, the shadows swirling around it, and I took a step back. "Don't!" I shouted, feeling my voice gain strength. To my surprise, that seemed to halt the figure. It withdrew slightly, falling back into the gray mist that surrounded it. "Draw on her strength," it hissed, voice lowering but still resonating in the darkness. "Find the child before it's too late." Before I could respond, it vanished, leaving only the oppressive silence. I could feel my own heartbeat. That was something familiar among all this chaos. I closed my eyes, willing the images to return. La Señora had said to follow the child. That was my focus. I thought of the little girl with the red balloon, her tear-streaked face etched into my memory. Concentrating, I reached into the depths of the locket's energy. The faint glow from before felt like a thread of light against the blackness. I reached for it with every ounce of determination I had. Suddenly, the darkness shifted again, swirling like a vortex. A blinding light engulfed me, and I was thrust into another memory. I blinked against the brightness and stepped into a scene filled with color. The child stood before me, the red balloon bobbing cheerfully against the backdrop of a sunny park. But as I approached, a heavy feeling settled over me. The joy of the scene felt hollow, and I could sense an edge of fear lurking. I crouched down to the child's level. "Are you all right?" I asked, meeting her wide, sorrowful eyes. "She's gone,"
the girl whispered, clutching the balloon tightly as her fingers trembled. "I didn't mean to let go." "Who is gone?" I asked, trying to engage with her, to pull her away from the sadness that wrapped around her like a cloak. "She was here. She promised," the girl said, her voice quivering. "Now she's lost, and it's my fault." Before I could respond, the scene shifted. The park around us flickered and began to dissolve, and I felt myself being pulled backward again. The child's face twisted in fear, her cry echoing in my ears, fuller now, more desperate. "No, wait!" I yelled, reaching out, but the darkness reclaimed me. I felt weightless as I was thrown into another shadowy abyss. When I landed, I was back on the cold ground, my heart pounding in terror. I was lost again, but now I held on to one certainty. There was a connection between La Señora and this child. The shadows were gathering, and I needed to act quickly, not just for her sake, but for my own. Suddenly, a soft voice broke through the silence, one that sent shivers down my spine. "You are running out of time." The whisper felt like a threat, and my heart raced. I thought I was seeking answers, but what if the truth I found only plunged me deeper into darkness? I didn't know where to turn. The shadows felt alive, prickling at my skin, twisting around me as if they were hungry. I focused on the little girl again, retreating into myself.
Mind, recalling every detail from the sunny park. Find the child before it's too late. I resisted the urge to scream. I needed a plan. The girl had been afraid. If I could just find a way to comfort her, maybe I could unlock more memories. I pulled the locket from my neck, its metal cool against my palm. I couldn't waste time. I stood up, swaying slightly, the remnants of fear still clinging to me. "La Señora," I whispered, hoping the name held some power. "Show me the way." Nothing happened at first. I felt a pit in my stomach, the dread of failing weighing heavily. But then, just as I feared I might drift into another memory, the locket flared to life. A warm light pulsed from it, illuminating the shadows around me like a beacon. "Look!" the child's voice echoed in my memory. "Do you see it?" Before I could process what the voice meant, a flicker caught my attention. A silhouette moved through the darkness ahead, vibrant red contrasting sharply with the grayness. I took a step forward, adrenaline pushing me. Was that the girl? The balloon? As I drew closer, the figure distorted, morphing into something unrecognizable. My heart sank. It wasn't the girl at all, but a twisted version of La Señora. Her features were exaggerated, a wide smile stretched across her face, eyes glinting with something sinister. The shadows coiled around her like snakes, each movement sending a ripple through the darkness. "Why are you here?" I called out, fear creeping back into my voice. "Oh, sweet child," she replied, her voice syrupy and laced with malice. "You should be searching for her, not me. She's right there." I looked past La Señora, my confident bravado evaporating. In the distance, I saw something moving. A small form, the girl with the balloon, frantically wandering through the thickening darkness. My heart leapt. Could I reach her in time? "Stay away from her!" I shouted, not even sure if La Señora was capable of harming the child. But something in her laughter sent shards of icy fear through me. "Time is not on your side," La Señora crooned, her smile still stretched impossibly wide. She began to move closer, shadows slithering at her heels. Every instinct screamed for me to run, but the locket burned in my hand, demanding I confront this. Instead, I steadied myself and concentrated, pouring my mind into the light of the locket. "Help me," I breathed. "Show me the way to her." The light intensified, and I felt myself tugged toward the girl. With renewed strength, I sprinted forward, dodging the encroaching darkness. But just as I drew closer, I stumbled. My foot caught on something, sharp and cold.
I fell, jarring my hands against the ground. The shadows swirled above me, and La Señora's laughter echoed around me. "That was unwise," she mocked, her voice mingling with the dark. Frantic, I scrambled to my feet, the girl disappearing from view. "No! Come back!" But then, from the depths of the shadows, I heard a soft voice. "Help me." I froze. I could feel the weight of the truth in those words. But what truth? I needed to figure it out before the darkness consumed us both. And then, everything went dark. I opened my eyes to a dizzying swirl of shadows, but this time something was different. The air buzzed with energy, a tangible thread weaving through the darkness, an echo of La Señora's last plea. It grounded me, a thin lifeline drawing me back to purpose. "Find her," I murmured. I didn't know how, but I was done standing still. Pushing the shadows aside, I took a step forward. The ground felt stable beneath my feet, and the faint glimmer of the locket pulsed in my hand, urging me onward. I could sense the direction, an invisible tether pulling me toward the fractured echoes of laughter and sorrow. As I moved through the obscured landscape, glimpses of fading memories flickered, each one dragging me deeper. I saw fleeting images, a park, a child with a red balloon, and then a face twisted in grief. It all felt intertwined, like a tangled knot of lives lived and lost. I squeezed the locket tight as the links of understanding began to churn in my mind. "Help me," the voice returned, more insistent. I followed it, racing through the din of shadows and echoes, until finally I burst through into another clearing, a ghostly replica of the park. It shimmered, but where vibrant colors once thrived, now faded pastel hues lingered beneath a haze of gray. And there she was, the girl, clutching her red balloon, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I lost them," she said, her small voice almost swallowed by the stillness. I knelt beside her, desperate to bridge the gap that had formed between us. "You didn't mean to," I said softly. "You can help them find peace. We can do this together." She looked up, her eyes wide and pleading. "But I don't know how." Beneath her sorrow sat a flicker of hope, and I took another breath to gain more courage. "La Señora is searching for you. If we help her, she can help you." The girl's face turned stricken with indecision. What if it's not enough? What if they're still lost? "In every memory lies a chance," I whispered, encouraging her. "The pain we share can be the key to our freedom. Let's unlock it together." As I spoke those words, the locket glimmered brightly between us, pulsing in rhythm with our shared heartbeats. I extended my hand toward her, and to my amazement, she reached out. When our fingers brushed, an electric jolt coursed through us, lighting the dim space around us. In that moment, the darkness quivered. Memories erupted, filling our surroundings with bursts of brilliance. Images bloomed into view. Family, laughter, a promise of safety. My heart raced. We were onto something. "Hold on to it," I urged, driving the joy forward. "Let's show the world what you're feeling. Let it guide us." The girl nodded, determination erasing fear, and together we summoned the past. The locket brightened as we poured ourselves into it, the warmth of our emotions cascading through the shadows and drawing everything closer. But just as the world around us began to stabilize, the ominous figure emerged once more, draped in shadows. "Fools," it sneered. "You think you can unlock what must remain sealed?" The air thickened with tension, and I felt La Señora's energy at our side, a presence of urgency and fear. "We must finish this," she urged, her voice like a distant echo. "Together," I whispered, drawing strength from both the girl and her spirit. The girl and I concentrated harder, and an explosion of light burst forth from the locket, shattering the consuming darkness. We reached for it, allowing the memories to pour out. Vivid joy intertwined with the sorrow that had confined us. I could see La Señora emerge from the depths, the past swirling like a tempest around her, her features softening with each passing moment. But then the darkness lashed out, wrapping around us, determined not to let go. You cannot unravel what I built. I grasped the girl's hand tight, grounding our fear. For every bond you forge, we'll break it. A clash ignited throughout the space, the resonance of our shared hope rising above the shadows, and with each beat I felt the connection between La Señora and the girl grow stronger. "There!" I shouted through the chaos. "Don't let go! Find the light within!" At that moment, the darkness recoiled, scattering into the depths as the memories propelled upward, intertwining into a blinding brilliance. Everything felt as if it was bursting apart. Then, a crack of thunder pierced the void. I was thrust backward, the air whipping by me as the world around me slashed through in blinding lights filled with memories. I felt dizzy, as if I was caught between two realms. But one image remained clear. La Señora and the little girl, bound together in harmony, resolving the haunting past. Then, nothing. Silence. I awoke on cool grass beneath a starry sky. The air was crisp, as if a weight had lifted. I blinked against the moonlight, disoriented but relieved. The familiar park lay before me, yet everything felt different now. La Señora stood at the edge, her figure shimmering under the pale glow. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice ringing of gratitude and closure, a promise fulfilled. It felt like she was fading. "Wait," I called, a surge of connection swirling inside me. "What happens now?" She smiled, that gentleness wrapping around her, enveloping my heart. "You've found the threads binding us. I am released, but I will always remain. In each breeze, each song, I'll be there." And with that, she vanished, leaving behind an echo of warmth, a deep sense of fulfillment. I rose, uncertainty lacing the air. Even as I took in my surroundings, what of the girl? Was she free as well? I felt a lingering pulse from the locket in my hand, but no answer formed. I gazed around, searching the park from where I stood, yet the memories felt rich and heavy, whispering of connections forged but now lacking clarity. I drove home, the gnarled shadows now transformed into bustling life. As I crossed familiar streets, I realized I would always wonder about La Señora, the girl, and their intertwined destinies. I may have escaped, but the questions lingered. Had I truly unraveled their past? Did the darkness still exist, hiding in corners, traveling with me wherever I went? The lines between the natural and the supernatural swirled gently, and as I stood at my father's door, the weight of untold stories settling around me, I knew the haunting would linger still. But I was ready to face it, ready to embrace the unknown.